Anarchists and policemen all come from the same basket, or so claims the enigmatic professor from Joseph Conrad's Secret Agent. And the text proceeds to demonstrate how true this can be in practice. This video essay has spoilers for The Secret Agent, The Man Who Was Thursday by G.K. Chesterton, and The Silence of Six by E.C. Myers. If you had asked the citizens of London in the 1890s and the early 1900s who the bad guys and the good guys were between the anarchists and the policemen, they would have immediately answered, well, the anarchists are the villains, the policemen are the heroes. And it seemed pretty clear-cut because it was the anarchists who were assassinating people, planting bombs, starting riots, and generally disturbing the peace, while it was the police who defended peace-loving citizens from all these attacks. But the real question that Conrad is asking is, into which basket would we put the secret agents? If there were a secret government agent going undercover in an anarchist group in order to stop them, would he be a good guy or a bad guy? I think the same audience would have said he's still definitely a good guy. But that's a pretty general question. Let me get particular, using Conrad's own particulars. What if this government agent planted a bomb which was intended to explode and destroy a building in order to hurt the anarchist cause and handicap them so that they would be unable to carry out further attacks in the future? Is he still clearly one of the good guys? Is he a true defender wearing the mask of a destroyer, or is he an actual destroyer wearing the mask of a defender, wearing the mask of a destroyer? And no, I am not trying to be funny. I am making an allusion to The Man Who Was Thursday. G.K. Chesterton liked The Secret Agent so much that he wrote his own spy thriller the very next year, though it soon becomes clear to the reader that this is not a similar sort of crime novel. If the secret agent makes a shady figure out of the policeman, The Man Who Was Thursday makes a heroic figure out of the anarchist. But what exactly is there to find heroic about an anarchist, which these days we tend to call a terrorist? Chesterton answers explicitly, his glory and isolation. Perhaps that line should have been his glorious isolation. As Chesterton sees it, it is one thing to be willing to go into battle when you know you have the rest of the world with you. It is quite another thing and something far more courageous to go into battle when you know you are completely alone. This is a highly romanticized view of the anarchist. Some might say reprehensible. Imagine talking of the glory and isolation of an active shooter. It's like that. While Conrad suggests that you may not be a good guy if you do bad guy things, even if they're in support of a good guy goal, Chesterton asserts that you absolutely are one of the good guys if you have the courage to carry out your bad guy deeds with the whole world against you. I really don't know if he would have said that about the Unabomber, who really did have the whole world against him and who incidentally really loved The Secret Agent. It was his favorite book. There is a less controversial, but I would say equally dramatic reversal of good guy and bad guy in contemporary thrillers. 100 odd years after Conrad wrote The Secret Agent, E.C. Myers wrote The Silence of Six. And it's pretty clear here how the roles of defender and destroyer were switched. In this novel, the villains are the defenders of the status quo. They want us to have a nice, peaceful, stable life, and all we have to pay in exchange is our data and the loss of our privacy. Meanwhile, the heroes are the hackers, the characters who crack security codes and break locks, sometimes literal locks to literal doors, who delete data, and who generally flaunt the law in order to make things harder for the villains who are preserving the status quo. And to show you just how much things really reversed themselves, let's look at the plots. And by plots, I don't mean the stories, I mean the secret plans in each story. In The Secret Agent, the plot is to plant a bomb and to frame the anarchists for it. It's essentially a false flag operation, and the objective is to make the people of England so scared of what the anarchists might do next that they support legislation that will really crack down on the anarchists, even if it means a loss of some personal freedoms for the people who actually obey the law. And in The Silence of Six, the secret plan is to break into private property in order to upload something onto a server that is intended to be downloaded by individual users' computers all over the world, whether they want to download it or not. The terms that Myers uses are rogue code and worm, but I think the impact of what the characters plan to do lands better if I call it a virus. I don't think it's a virus, but let's call it a virus. So their plan is to infect a major server with a virus so that the virus can infect the computers of everyone using the social media site that has that server. And their objective is to raise awareness about overreach in surveillance and about the manipulation of people so that end users will rise up and demand more protections under the law or be less willing to share their data with big corporations. In the sense that the goal is to change public perception, they're basically the same secret plan. Yes, one is much more violent than the other, but violence is not the only mark of the destroyer. Chesterton would say that the actual mark of a destroyer is isolation. And we also see that with Myers' hacker hero. Not only is he a teen boy who has to go up against a corporation that is secretly backed by the US government, which means that law enforcement is on the villain's side. He literally, at the climax, walks into the building physically alone. And it's another great example of glory and isolation. If saving the cat is how we make characters more likable, then isolating them when they need to complete their missions may be what makes them the most heroic. What's interesting to me is that we reject the anarchist, the dynamiter, the bomber, the shooter, but we lionize the hacker, the leaker, the whistleblower. And I don't think it's just because the latter is nonviolent. I think it's because we truly think that even though anarchists and hackers are just two kinds of destroyers, the hacker to us is a destroyer's mask on a defender's face. But that just brings us back to the question of who you really are when the mask comes off. On a very personal note, one of my big surprises this year was that I became more interested in thrillers, particularly those with espionage and conspiracy elements, or in other words, the thrillers that are in a direct line of descent from The Secret Agent. These are the books with the destroyers and the defenders of society, and a genre in which destroyer and defender sometimes switch masks. Whether or not you agree with Conrad's professor that anarchists and policemen all come from the same basket in real life, you might have to agree with him when it comes to this genre.